Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host, and I live the whole year for this show. This is the show that I'm thinking about as stuff happens all year. So happy old year to you. Can't say happy new year till tomorrow, so happy old year to you. This is our end of the year panel show where we reveal all the various categories of our Catholic Answers voting. We have folks from our Catholic Answers Radio Club and Catholic Answers Society 315 vote on things like the Catholic Story of the Year, the Catholic Person of the Year, the Pro-Life Person of the Year, the Word or Phrase of the Year, all kinds of stuff. And so we're going to go through all of that with our two very fine guests. First, sitting here in the studio with me, President of Catholic Answers, Chris Check. Hi, Chris.
Happy New Year, Cy.
Have you been looking forward to this for all year?
Every bit as much as you do.
That doesn't sound convincing. And our other guests.
I haven't seen any of the questions.
Well, I don't give you the answers.
Oh.
I did send you the questions.
Oh, you did send me the questions.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
correct.
Did I send them to you, Joe?
You did?
Yeah, okay. All right.
I noticed all the answers were blank. I didn't know if I had to vote or not.
No, because you're supposed to find out. This is the big reveal show. Like, you guys are supposed to. That's why you're here. It's like, move that bus. And then you guys are like, oh, look at our house.
It's kind of like the questions. It's like the questions that preceded the motu proprio, right?
Now, come on now.
Nobody saw any of those either.
No, come on now. Joe Heschmeyer is our other guest.
End of the year dubia. I will not be answering any of these.
Joe Heschmeyer, new to Catholic Answers, used to be our friend. Now he's our colleague. Came to us on the Feast of St. Joseph this year, in the year of St. Joseph, and his name is Joseph. Joe Heschmeyer, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. So I noticed you called us both guests, and it occurred to me that the president of Catholic Answers is probably the least guest of all of the guests of the organization.
No, I feel like a guest. You know, that reminds me of that Gracie Slick song.
What's that?
Somebody to Love.
Don't you?
Is that Jefferson Airplane?
Yeah. Well, right, Jefferson Airplane. And she says, there's that great line in there, and your friends, they treat you like a guest.
Oh, yeah. She was a good lyricist, actually.
Yeah.
She
Well, I don't know. Did she write that? But that is such a, and your friends, they treat you like a guest.
Let's all sing the White Rabbit song now together. Like we have to be 1,000 years old to even know who Grace Slick is anymore.
I feel like family in the studio here, Cy.
Well, let me tell you, just because Joe brought that up, the weirdest thing was in the olden days when Patrick Coughlin was the host, and I would guest here. I would drive here to be the guest host, and I would say things like, and our guest today is Tim Staples. And that felt so weird. Like, I'm literally the guest in the building, and I'm saying our guest is Tim Staples. But all right,
it's like going over to someone's house and being like, "Let me welcome you to your home."
I know, that's exactly what I was doing. All right, so
maybe you're my guest, Cy.
I feel like I am. Yeah. I think look.
I hope I take.
Let's be honest.
Am I taking good care of you?
We're all just Jimmy Akin's guests here. If he wants us gone, we're gone. Okay. And sooner you get comfortable with that, Joe. All right. I got a whole bunch of categories. We voted on them. We lived an entire year just so we could do this show. The Earth circled the sun since the last time we did this, and now it is time. We'll start with, if it's all right with you, Catholic word or phrase of 2021.
We're sure about the Earth circling the sun?
Yeah, I was wondering if that was going to offend your geocentrist.
That's established. We're sure on that one.
Wait a second. I'm so tired of you anti-science Christians.
Looks like the sun's been going. Just saying, it looks that way to me.
I felt like
Do you have some sort of concert course on Galileo?
Can I make, as a matter of fact?
No, this is how I prove it. Every year, I leave something in space, and then I pick it up as we pass again the next year. So that's how I know.
Joe was just giving a commercial for my CASA course on the Galileo affair.
Ah, right, the Galileo affair, which everyone gets wrong all the time. All right. I think what we'll do with these categories is I will ask you. Oh, yeah, schoolofapologetics.com. Yep. Everything's on sale right now.
It is.
Head over there, schoolofapologetics.com. I'm sorry I missed the opportunity to plug the merchandise boss.
Okay. The other stuff I'm not interested in. It's my course on the Galileo affair I want people to buy.
All right.
Everything else is on sale. That one is twice as much as normal.
All right. Do you guys want to suggest a Catholic word or phrase of the year before I tell you what the top three are? And then that's what I'll do. I'll tell you some interesting ones if there are some interesting ones in these categories, but mostly we're going to do the top three.
Are we going to do a trifecta of Pachamama?
Oh.
Is it motu proprio?
No, neither of those. Also, although someone did write moro proprio, and I think they were going for motu proprio, just hit the wrong one. But Moro Proprio only got one vote, though. So we're not going with that. And Pachamama got one vote that said just to annoy Sai, because I said I don't want it to be Pachamama again. And then another person wrote in capital letters Pachamama. So Pachamama still got 2 votes after all these years. Pachamama's going to get votes every year for as long as I'm here, I think. All right, so I'm going to tell you the top 3 words or phrases of the year. Catholic word or phrase of the year. Number 3, Eucharistic coherence. What do you think?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, what I liked about it is that it actually like makes sense as a phrase. Like once you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, I see what you're doing with that. I really like it as a turn of phrase. It captures something big into words.
It does feel like it was coined in 21.
I never heard it before
somewhat- yeah,
2021.
yeah.
I never heard that phrase before.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hadn't either.
I wonder who we can blame for that.
Is it Corleone? Did Archbishop Corleone do it? Yeah. I don't know. But all right. Well, I'm all for Eucharistic coherence. I just want
I
to
am
come out
too.
of that. All right. Number 2, you'll both be so happy to hear this, but especially Mr. Heschmeyer. Catholic coming in second as Catholic word or phrase of the year, Year of Saint Joseph.
Glory.
Yes.
Don't say anything about it, because that would honor Saint
Whoa.
Joseph. If you just don't say anything, just stay quiet, like the
In honor
guardian of
Saint
the
Joseph,
Lord.
We're gonna
Yeah.
a minute of silence.
Or if you mention Joe's book on St.
Exactly.
Joseph.
You know,
Probably also available on shop.catholic.com if you want to plug another.
oh yeah, okay. So a man named Joseph, Guardian for Our Times, the greatest book on Saint Joseph published this year, other than Father Calloway's. Oh, sorry, Joe. I apologize.
It was not published this year.
That
It might
wasn't
have been.
Oh,
published this
sorry
year.
about that. Neither was Father
It
Calloway's.
preceded and possibly caused the Year of Saint Joseph.
Yeah, you know, we had the provincial of the Oblates of Saint Joseph on, Father Matthew Spencer, this month. And I said, "What was it, a big year for you?" And I just did they warn you before it was coming? He said, "No." He said it just came out of nowhere. That he even the provincial of the Oblates of Saint Joseph, nobody thought, let's shoot him an email and let him know this is coming. It just came out of nowhere.
So I have very, very high respect for Father Calloway. He's a first-rate priest and a dear friend, and he's done great work with this book. He does seem to have directly influenced this decision by the Holy Father.
Which
he knew a guy who knew a guy who
talked to the Pope.
Yeah, who talked to the Pope.
Well, God bless the Pope for doing it, but man, does that help book sales or what? When you got a book, just get the Pope to declare
We
a
need
year.
to have the marketing department doing that for all of our books.
That's right.
Yeah.
We need a year for the early church was the Catholic Church coming up.
Yes, right. I think that if the Pope could just declare next year the year of the early church, Joe can retire.
We have a recorded lecture by Father Calloway, a video recorded lecture by Father Calloway telling the story of how.
Oh, we have it at Catholic
and how it
Answers?
came about. Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, well, find that. Just go to Catholic.com.
Oh, you got to
type
be in the
info.
315
Oh,
Society.
you got to be in the Society 315 for
Yes.
this one. Oh,
We're getting a lot of commercials.
I'm in Society 315. I haven't seen it.
all right,
What-
well,
I just got my
messed up.
cert for Society 315 last night.
Well, congratulations, Joe. You're a member of Society 315 now. Do you know the handshake? Have we shown you the handshake?
I know.
When you're out next month, we'll show it to you.
Excellent.
All right, the winner, the grand winner for, and leading by exactly one vote over Year of St. Joseph, Catholic word or phrase of 2021,
Bible in a year?
synodality. Ding, 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 ding. Synodality.
Our listeners have a sense of humor.
Or synod on synodality. I just put them all together. So, what do you think? Now, why do you think that's humor? Do you think people are making fun of the conference on conferences, the meeting on meetings?
Like
synod
you,
on
like
synodality?
you are right now.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, that's what everybody has said. I mean, the jokes are all out there. So, I don't know.
Discouraging was the art, especially that some Italian drew that goes with this
yeah.
synod on synodality.
Yeah,
It looked like it was drawn with crayons.
why this is
This is the country that gave us Michelangelo.
No, but this is
Caravaggio,
the church that gives us
Raphael.
all those
Yes,
things.
exactly.
And every church document has the goofiest art on it. Why do we do that? Why do we have these weird post Picasso? I mean, remember the time they accidentally put some Mormon art on a Catholic missalette? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
It was,
It was a
and I don't want to.
hymnal.
Yeah, on a hymnal.
It was
I don't
like-
want to say the
sorry.
company that did it in north of us.
Might be named after a state.
And
Yeah.
might be named after a Western state, but come on, why are we so bad at art nowadays?
Yeah, we kind of look like the Maronis there. That's a Mormon pun for those who don't know. Yeah, so I think I was reading a Washington Post article about a restaurant review that took place in Lecce, where this guy had this like very modernist cuisine that he described as kind of a parody of food, where it was just like a droplet of food with like a meat infusion and just insane. And it was a hilarious review that he wrote. And this then led the owners of the restaurant to respond with a series of pictures of horses. And the first one is like an old kind of basic drawing of a horse, like the kind your kid might do. The second one was a much more realistic, like beautiful depiction of a horse. And the third one was like a really deconstructed, not quite even a horse, but maybe like resembles a horse in some way.
Yeah.
And the owners of the restaurant said, anyone can do the first one. The second one has been perfected. It's been done so many times we're bored of it, and so now we're on to the third one. And it's like, well, actually,
we're
I
hungry.
don't want the third. I want the nice picture of the horse, and also I don't want to be like disoriented and deconstructed when I go for dinner. I want to actually eat a meal. Like my body is not hip to your like, oh, this reminds us of what a food used to be.
It's not an advance to deconstruct.
Exactly.
The deconstruction is never an advance.
It speaks of a boredom. And I think that really is there kind of a spiritual apathy or a spiritual, boredom and frustration of just feeling like, well, we've done this thing. What is there next? And I think that's a really dangerous attitude and not an attitude of God.
No, and it derives also from the fruitless but unrelenting pursuit of equality. Fact is, Michelangelo and Raphael were considerably better at painting than I am.
Yeah, than virtually anybody alive today.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure there are very fine painters, but
it is interesting. However, there does seem to be. I know one thing. We're talking about our happy trends at some point or another. In architecture, we seem to have the worst behind us.
It does seem like that, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had enough of Frank Gehry now. I mean, can he stop? But there's still so many good trends in architecture.
Yes.
Yeah, and everybody who's imitating
painting
Frank
is not
Gehry,
catching up, and even the people who try to paint in a Renaissance style or a medieval style, I don't think they have the skill or the talent. I mean, there may be such painters today. When I was at St. Martin's Academy to do the graduation down in Fort Scott, there was a magnificent painting there. I met the artist of St. Martin dividing his cloak. In fact, I'm going to get a copy for the building. So there are some. There are some.
Yeah, there are. But all art is a product of culture as well as of individuals, and we just don't have culture anymore. I mean, I don't mean that
our culture doesn't create people.
We're uncultured. I mean, I'm in the Patrick Deneen school of culture. That if you have mass culture, that means you don't have culture.
Right.
Because culture is always and everywhere a local phenomenon.
It's also centered around the cultists, the mass. Like this is John Senior's kind of brilliant insight that if you want to understand the flourishing of Europe and for the last like 1,500 years, it was, well, we want to offer the sacrifice to the mass. We want to do that in a beautiful church. And then like you kind of build up a town around that is centered around that and oriented towards it with a real, like the fact that as Catholics, we believe that God is true, good, and beautiful means that we take beauty, at least on paper, extremely seriously. And the church at her best has really promoted a beautification, not just of the church space itself, but of the whole surrounding environment. So everything becomes more beautiful with that Catholic sensibility.
I got to go to a break.
Okay.
And I got to just say, I'm just going to review the top 3 Catholic word or phrase of the year. We're going to do best Catholic story, Catholic person of the year, pro-life person, and story of the year. All that stuff is coming up. But as far as Catholic word or phrase of the year, number 3 was Eucharistic coherence. Number 2 was Year of St. Joseph. And number 1 was synodality. And our panel managed to discuss none of them. We'll be right back with more right after this.
Catholic Answers Live.
Do you have a question but prefer to ask it privately? Catholic Questions can help. Go to CatholicQuestions.com to ask your question online, email us, drop us a letter, or give us a call. Longtime Catholic Answers Live apologist and author Jim Blackburn or another Catholic Questions apologist will be happy to assist you. Catholic Questions proudly supports Catholic Answers Live, so visit us at CatholicQuestions.com today. That's CatholicQuestions.com.
Hey, this is Michael O'Neill, the Miracle Hunter. I'll be delving into the fascinating world of miracles and taking you on a hunt that explores the greatest mysteries and marvels of the Catholic Church. I'll be examining what constitutes a miracle, how miracles are investigated and approved, and the role they play in the lives of the faithful. We'll look at the miracles of the Gospels and early Christianity, considering the claims of the miraculous in our own modern age.
The Miracle Hunter, tomorrow at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. We've got 2 hours of just fun reviewing the year with Joe Heschmeyer, apologist here at Catholic Answers, and with Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers, and me, your host, Cy Kellett. And I'm just going to go for a big one now. I'm just going to, because you can't save all the big ones for the end. You got to mix them in. I've watched the Academy Awards, and you got to do some of the big ones early to catch folks before they head to bed.
Fall asleep before they fall asleep.
Right.
So
I know I do. I need glasses for this. All right, let's see. So this one is going to be the biggest news story of 2021. It has doesn't have to be Catholic. It's just the biggest news story of 2021. Any guesses about what that might be, or maybe you have one in mind that you want to say I would have voted for the biggest. What's the biggest news story of 2021?
I try not to watch the news, Cy.
Well, that might give you a better perspective on what the biggest news story was. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Catholic Answers Conference was
there it is,
live and in person in
again
September.
Next year, September 23rd to 25th, right here in sunny San Diego. Go to CatholicAnswersConference.com. Joe, what about you? Got a story?
Honestly, the only thing that's coming to mind that I could think of from a U.S. perspective is the whole January 6th thing. Like, I feel like we're still talking about that
as well.
It got
10
a
or
few
11
votes.
months later.
Yeah, it got a few votes. Yeah,
it was a story that was bigger than it was.
I mean, I can say it by date, and so I feel like that says something about how many stories do you know by like the day they happened.
What about the pestilence in perpetuity, the perpetual pestilence? Is that?
Now we're getting there. All right, here's number 3 of the biggest, giantest news stories of 2021, according to Catholic Answers listeners. Number 3, I kind of group these together because they're we don't suggest. We just allow people to say it any way they want. So I have to admit that the wording on some of these is different, but they all included the name Biden. And so Pope Francis being nice to Joe Biden, or Joe Biden being a poor Catholic, or some version of something with Biden in it came in third. And I'm going to be honest with you. I dreaded the election of Joe Biden, not as a host of Catholic Answers Live, because I thought what would happen is every question was going to be about why is Joe Biden going to communion for the whole year, for the whole 4 years. And we have had that question a lot, and it's a perfectly reasonable question. There's no, but I don't know. People have not obsessed over it for the year. So.
It's because now they know about Eucharistic coherence.
But it has started a lot of positive conversations, about the Eucharist, or at least contributed to them, people's concern that, it's obvious that major Catholic politicians are promoting a view of human life that's not compatible with Christian faith or with the natural law.
Genocide is not compatible with the Christian faith or the natural law.
But I do think people are responding to that in many ways by trying to rethink or reproclaim the truth of the Eucharist, and not just obsessing on the negative.
Amen. Well, I think, look, I'm not a bishop. I think if I were a bishop and had a kind of a savvy approach to this, I would see if I had a high-profile Catholic who wasn't a politician in my diocese who was living contrary to the faith. Because the response, the kind of knee-jerk response people have is always like, well, you're getting involved in politics. But if it was something like a celebrity, in a scandalous marriage situation or whatever the situation were, and they were still publicly receiving communion, that kind of situation could actually be a real kind of teaching moment. We're here. I do think there's been a pedagogical value to like having the conversation. I also think at this point we've had the conversation kind of ad nauseum for decades.
That's what it feels like,
since
yeah.
Mario Cuomo. You know?
No, since Ted Kennedy back in the 70s.
In response to what Joe is saying there, and I think that's a good idea. And by the way, if Joe Heschmeyer were a bishop, I would want to live in that diocese.
I'd be
sure.
very suspicious of the children, though.
Yeah. Well,
It'd be a minor scandal.
we were talking about the Renaissance a little while ago, but in any case, but there is a difference here, and I don't even know, Joe. You can tell me if it's a material difference or not. The politicians are, in fact, promoting an evil act with legislation. The rock star in Kansas City, are there rock stars in Kansas City? They who are on their third wife or whatever. He's giving a bad example, to be sure, right. But he's not legislating serial marriage.
Yeah. You know what?
Right,
it's a good point. I've thought about that, and I have a counter, which would be someone like Bill Gates. Where there's actually like promoting of evil, supporting things like contraception globally, right. Supporting abortion, find someone doing those kinds of things. Not just someone, you're right, like not just someone who's maybe got like personal sexual sin, something like that, where people can say that's a personal issue, leave them alone. But someone who's actively promoting it, but isn't easily lumped into a partisan.
I have the person. It's Ariana Grande who's writing giant checks to Planned Parenthood.
Wow.
So wherever I think I got that right. Is Ariana Grande, is she a singer?
She's a singer.
Okay, yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's her. Just double check that. Yeah, but she's Catholic, and yeah. So.
Oh yeah.
I had no idea she was Catholic.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know Bill Gates was Catholic until you told me that.
You're
probably supposed to know that.
Do they practice their faith? Or
I don't know.
Well, I think that's the issue. Like with politicians, they make a point of going to church, and so you have the extra scandal of the pictures of them receiving communion.
But this is all,
and I'm not sure you would get the same thing.
But there's always been the on left, right, center. There's always been the specter of the politician kind of cloaking themselves in religion, and so.
Yeah.
You always have to take a deep breath with politicians and religion because they have to do hard things, controversial things, and sometimes they make compromises that you wouldn't want a person of faith to make. So this is always a problem, and it's hard to talk about too because our politics is so fraught, and people feel like we're in a political emergency on both sides. Everybody's up in arms about, so you criticize Joe Biden, everyone says, well, what you're doing is helping the other side. Well, no, it's not our intention to help a politician or hurt a politician. We're trying to be clear about the morality of killing children.
Yeah, I think I think there's a certain group of people who are going to be closed off to hearing that message. I'm not sure there's a ton you can do with that. I hopefully there are people who are able to hear it and say, oh, I get what you're doing. I get why that matters to you, even if maybe I'm not previously in agreement on that, that sort of thing, where they can hopefully learn something from it.
Well, the number 2 story for Story of the Year, and again, I grouped these together. The various court cases were mentioned, but the courts and Roe versus Wade was number 2 story of the year. I would have chosen it for story number 1 myself.
Well, it's because we don't have the answer yet.
It's the story of the year next year.
It'll be a big story in June or July or whenever that is.
Yeah,
the decision is released.
I just felt so like something is right in the world when you get an argument like you got at the Supreme Court this year, where both sides did their very best arguing. It was clear to me that the anti-Roe, pro-life side's arguments were far stronger, clearer, more competent. And I just loved it. I just thought in public, getting to make those arguments that, the whole country's paying attention, this bodes well for us.
Well, the defender.
It was such a. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say the defenders of Roe tacitly, if not more than tacitly, acknowledged. Look, okay, we get it. This is bad law, but
it's stare decisis.
We can't.
That's all they
can't change the precedent.
Yeah, like it's bad law, but it's our bad law. So don't take it away.
Well, not just that. But I mean, because this is a whole question of like when and how do you overturn decisions, and there was a whole thing in Casey where you don't want to look like you're caving to public pressure, and I get all of that, but it creates this perverse situation where the laws that people are really having a lot of outcry, the ones that don't produce national peace, the court then doubles down in this really aggressively anti-democratic kind of way. That's a disaster for the court's reputation.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about this before, Si.
Yeah.
But like the Solicitor General, when she says like even Plessy v. Ferguson, which said segregation, separate but equal was fine.
Right.
She argued that you wouldn't be able to overturn that right away because even if everyone knew it was egregiously wrong, the facts hadn't changed enough until like years and years down the road. That's such a crazy situation to find the Solicitor General arguing for segregation in 2021.
Right.
That
It's been
hopefully
insane.
wakes people up.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll get to the #1 story of the year and all kinds of other categories voted on by our listeners. Pro-life person of the year, pro-life story of the year, Catholic story of the year, Catholic person of the year, and others, all to come after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Here's a question. Is it really possible to be friends with someone who died 2,000 years ago? Maybe the problem is that we've grown way too comfortable with the story of Jesus. Nice man, right? Taught us to love one another, said not to judge people. We celebrate his birthday every year. It's time to put away this small, safe version of Jesus, says Cy Kellett. Nobody that bland could have transformed the world. In A Teacher of Strange Things, Cy presents Jesus Christ undiluted by sentiment, with all his radical words and deeds uncensored. Do you know someone, your son or daughter perhaps, or maybe your mom or dad, who needs the friendship of Jesus Christ? Do you? Order your copy of A Teacher of Strange Things by visiting shop.catholic.com today or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you. Have you enrolled in the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics? Let me ask you a more important question. Do you believe as a Catholic that you have an obligation to share the Catholic faith? In fact, the Church has answered this question, and the answer is that all confirmed Catholics are obliged to share the faith. It's actually in canon law. Catholic Answers is here to help you fulfill that obligation. Our School of Apologetics courses will equip you to help all the people you come in contact with understand what the Church teaches and why. A great place to start is with all the Catholics in your life. Learn the art of apologetics from the best of the best and start sharing the gospel today. Visit schoolofapologetics.com. That's schoolofapologetics.com.
Did you know you can access Catholic Answers Live right from your phone or other mobile device? Download the Catholic Answers Live app today. The Catholic Answers Live app, available now on iOS and Android.
This is Debbie Georgiani.
And I'm Jerry Usher.
Join us for Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, Monday at noon Eastern.
Now back to Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. This is the show I look forward to all year. And a couple of guys I really love talking to. As a matter of fact, I think we've had some fun conversations on the air this year. Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers, and Joe Heschmeyer, apologist at Catholic Answers.
Amen.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was looking for. Can I get an amen? Do I have to say it out loud? All right, right now we're counting down to the biggest Catholic stories, the Catholic person of the year, pro-life person of the year. Right now we are on the biggest news story of the year. This doesn't have to be a Catholic story. The number 3 was things having to do with Joe Biden. Number 2, Roe versus Wade arguments and all the pro-life progress of the year. Number 1. Join them all together. It's COVID. COVID wins again for Story of the Year. Congratulations, COVID.
Can I recommend an article in The Atlantic by our friend Matthew Walter?
I don't know if I've seen this article.
I saw this article.
Yeah,
the one where he was just like, we're not sweating it here in Michigan?
Basically,
he said 90%.
It was something like, nobody in my town cares about COVID.
Right.
I actually think that's what it's called. It's extraordinary that this article appeared in The Atlantic, unless the editors at The Atlantic were trying to use this as an example of the things that dumb
crazy
people in rural Michigan say, or where I think that's where Matthew is. But it was a remarkable piece, and it speaks to a larger point, with respect to Biden as well. So much of what we encounter in our daily lives has, as Samuel Johnson observed, nothing to do with how small of all that human hearts endure, that part which laws or kings can cause or cure.
Right. Nice going.
Yeah.
Mr. Poetry. That was good. Joe, what do you think?
Well, I was just going to say, it also speaks to, there have been a lot of books recently on the notion of kind of two Americas, a red America and a blue America, that aren't just divided by politics, or not even primarily by politics, but you get like a rural-urban divide. You get just like a cultural divide.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so the responses on Twitter to the article you're talking about were really fascinating to me, because people were really speaking. I don't know if they were genuinely worried or if it was performative. I'm assuming it was real, but they were saying this is dangerous. This is going to get people killed. And it's like, I don't imagine there's a single person who read this who thought, oh, I was extremely worried about COVID and now I'm apathetic. Like, either they're living in a situation where, this is something they take very seriously, or they're already kind of checked out. What this really did was gave an insight, like a window into the other America.
Right.
That if, I look, like, Kansas City is such that if you go into the city itself, people are going to take it a lot more seriously. If you travel not far outside the city, you would not know COVID was even a thing.
Yes.
And if you never step across that liminal space, you just don't know the other way of living is even like still a thing. And that's dangerous as a polity. It's dangerous as a polity to have no idea how half of America thinks about things, how they're viewing the world,
Right.
And so the whole conversation about platforming him, it was just, I thought, so telling and in such a kind of depressing way.
Well, I'm going to share a little story with the two of you of something that happened to me right here in El Cajon about this. And this is what worries me about the COVID situation now, is the fact that we are all looking at each other and not sure how to deal with one another. I walked into 7-Eleven, my favorite store, because I had some Christmas shopping to do. All right, so I go to 7-Eleven.
Beef jerky.
Yeah. But
Scratchers.
You tell you what, if someone gave me beef jerky and scratchers for Christmas, I'd cry. That is such a good gift.
I've
That is
received
such a
both
good
of
gift.
those things before. I'm not knocking it at all.
But so don't laugh at my Christmas shopping, fancy pantses. All right, so I go into 7-Eleven.
And the hot dogs on the rollers that have just sort of been rolling all day on the rollers there.
Why are you guys picking on America's greatest shopping experience?
Yeah.
Why are you guys ripping on this?
And
All right.
Slurpee. There was a time in my life when I went through Slurpees.
For people who don't know where we are in a city called El Cajon. So you go into 7-Eleven in El Cajon. Just to describe where we are, a few miles to the east of us is the rodeo grounds. A few miles to the west of us is the coves of La Jolla. Okay, so we're in the middle of two worlds, a city world and
I'm not sure people know what the Coves of La Jolla are.
Well, it's kind of Shishi Beach, area. Okay, so, but it's also an urban.
It's where Ariana Grande lives.
That's probably true.
La Jolla, I believe, is the.
It's not La Jolla. All right, so this, I want to describe for you my experience walking into 7-Eleven, because it's one of the weirdest experiences of my life. Governor Newsom, the governor of California, has proclaimed that we all have to wear masks indoors. I think where we are here in El Cajon, at least 80% of people don't want to listen to the governor.
They're ignoring it.
But there's a big sign in front of at the front of the 7-Eleven that says, due to governor's mandate, you must wear a mask on the premises. You can see through the windows because it's a 7-Eleven. At the checkout counter, a lovely young woman not wearing a mask. In line, half the people wearing masks, half the people not wearing masks. I'm standing outside the door with a mask in my hand. I look in, every single person eyes me. Like, which team are you going to be on?
Yes.
That's the experience I had. Honest, every single person, not the cashier, she's working, right? But every single person I get the eyeball from about, am I going to put that mask on or not? I put the mask on because I'm going to tell you why I put the mask on. I am the most ridiculous rule-following personality. Like, if you say the rule is this, I'm following the rule. So that's a pathetic way to live your life, but that's how I live my life. I'm doing my Christmas shopping at 7-Eleven. You get the idea of what kind of person I am. But as I'm going through the store, the eyeballing, everybody eyeballing everybody else. Are you a mask person or no mask person? Are you going to say something to me because I'm not wearing a mask? Are you going to say something to me because I am wearing a mask? This is the end of social life. This to me is apocalyptic. We can't live this way.
Yeah, it was bad enough before COVID where I had to figure out if I was supposed to keep my shoes on or take them off in other people's houses. And that level of like social anxiety is just like every time I walk into a building now, we're like, I want to be accommodating. I want everyone to feel at ease.
Right.
How do I do that? And it depends on the person. And you don't know. It's welcome to my world, Si. This is what it's like overthinking things.
You come to Top Meadow Cavaliers. I recommend you keep your shoes on at the checkout.
Yeah, right. But don't you think this is I mean, there's people who are absolutely determined that this mask is a sign that you are a good person.
Right.
Or other people, this mask is a sign that you are a sucker. I mean, we're all reading these signs, and we have no, like, I don't want to go into 7-Eleven, my favorite store, and I'm just not sure whether a fight's about to break out over these masks.
I think about this a lot in the context of early Christianity, with all the debates about like food sacrifice to idols, about the commingling of Jewish and Gentile Christians. Like all of these things became these kind of team signifiers. And St. Paul is kind of like, just cut it out and get along with each other. And people didn't want to do that.
No, right.
And unfortunately, we're in this kind of like weird star-bellied Sneetches and non-star-bellied Sneetches kind of situation.
Right.
So it's really unfortunate. I find it exhausting. I think a lot of people do.
It is exhausting, and it's exacerbated by the Twitter or Twitter especially, but whatever the other platforms are.
But I feel like I know what to do in Los Angeles. Wear the mask or they will murder you. And I feel like I know what to do out in the desert. Stop it with the mask, all right? But I don't know what to do in El Cajon. Like, I don't know what to do in this town, which is halfway between these other extremes.
Yeah, it would help if they put like the mask mandate signs and then like a winking face or
I
not a winking
that.
face.
I know.
So you could decide, okay, are they just putting this up so they don't get in trouble,
Right.
or is this actually like the house rules? I mean, I want to be respectful both of the law and of the place in which I'm entering a private establishment. Like, yeah, it is exhausting to try to make everybody happy when people don't get along.
I don't even care about making them happy. I just want them to feel comfortable, and I want them to allow me to feel comfortable.
Well, that's what I mean.
When I'm
You're
getting
not trying
unhealthy
to, like,
foods.
Right.
You know, like I'm obviously here to buy things that are going to kill me in the long run.
The mask is not the health risk. You need
Yeah,
to be worried
right.
about.
Can we
It's
all
everything
leave
in
each
the
other
bag.
alone while we get our packs of cigarettes and Little Debbie's? You know? All right.
Oh, the oatmeal cream pies.
Oh, I know those Little Debbie oatmeal cream pies. What is that about?
Yeah.
All right, well, we're moving on. Best pro-life story of the year. All right, we're doing the countdown to the biggest stories of the year, the persons of the year. Joe Heschmeyer, our guest, Chris Check, our guest. And our next topic, best pro-life story of the year. We asked
The Dobbs case?
Oh, you're going to guess
I mean, it seems like an easy one.
Sure.
Well, then that's fine. I'm going to take a break, and we'll just leave it hanging in the air. Joe and Chris think it's easy. Is it easy? What's the best pro-life story of the year? Right back. We'll find out.
There's only one Catholic Answers Live.
Do you love praying for people? Have you ever wanted to use your gift of prayer to share Jesus with others and build up the body of Christ? Start a public prayer station with St. Paul Street Evangelization. Listen to people's needs, pray with them, or invite them to meet you at church. St. Paul Street Evangelization can help you get started. Find out how at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects home buyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
EWTN has just increased my faith so much. I am a cradle Catholic, and I thought I knew my faith very well. But when Mother Angelica passed away, and it was so much in the news, I learned all about EWTN and started listening all the time. And my eyes have been opened to my faith so much.
EWTN, helping people grow in their love and understanding of God.
Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live. I don't even need to put on my reading glasses for this one. It's that easy to tell you the Catholic pro-life story of the year. I mean, if I wanted to divide it up and have a number one and a number two, it would be I'd have to figure out, and I didn't do this, so I'm not gonna do it. But I'd have to say the Texas law or the Mississippi law, and there are various court cases that came with those two laws. But that's it. Everybody's talking about those two. One person chose for pro-life story of the year any woman who put her baby up for adoption instead of ending the pregnancy. God bless you for that. That's a beautiful sentiment. Every single other person had the Dobbs case or the Texas case. That was it. There's no question.
I had my differences with the Trump administration, to be sure, but this is the victory of his administration, the amount of judges that he appointed. Because the decisions on the Texas case, which I tested multiple times, would not have gone the way they were, I don't think.
That is the case, and I'll tell you what, everybody knew it during that vote in 2016, too. If people can't say, well, you know, this is an accident of history that accidentally Trump got elected, and that's what. No, millions and millions of people knew exactly what was on the line. The Supreme Court, and one side won, and one side lost.
Not just the court, but circuit courts and
right. Yeah. But primarily the Supreme Court, because you cannot do anything until this Roe v. Wade, this terrible law, this embarrassment to the idea of constitutionality and human decency
and common good
gets overturned. And so the 2016 election came down, it was 50 years or whatever of pro-life work is what put Donald Trump over the top. And I'm not saying that every vote was a pro-life vote, but without that difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and I'm going to be very honest with you, at the time, neither of whom I had any interest in. I did not like either candidate that election. And I know that I don't like to reveal but I just felt uncomfortable with the whole thing. But for millions of people, and I've met thousands of them personally, the question was who's going to do what to the courts, and that's why Donald Trump won.
It'll be really fascinating to see what happens when and if the court overturns Roe, because that whole political calculus could change. Now, there are a lot of ways that could go. If this starts becoming a national political issue at the legislative level, then I think you'll continue to see abortion playing out on a political stage in the same way. But if this is something where Congress says, you know what, let California and Mississippi have separate laws, and then leaves it up to the states as kind of laboratories of democracy, you could see a real shift in where and how the pro-life movement is kind of operating. I'm very interested in seeing what happens next.
So it's going to be better than what we got now.
One thing I think we will continue to see, Joe, I'd be interested in your thought here. I don't think there has been, well, certainly not in my lifetime, but deliberate migration from one state to another at the level that we're seeing it to live in a certain political climate.
Absolutely.
And I think it's mostly, I never get these red and blue correct, which is
because they reversed it just so you wouldn't have the color red associated with liberalism, because red is the communism.
Red is Republican.
Reds are Republicans.
Yeah. So I think especially seeing people moving out of blue states and into red ones.
It's been fascinating. I mean, certainly from California, you are seeing a net loss.
Well, our population went down
for a lot of us.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the primary reason people are leaving California, though, is housing is too expensive. People cannot afford to live here. And so when a state is so dysfunctional that it can't even provide housing that a normal person can afford, then people have to leave.
That's true.
But I also know a lot of people who are like, I'm going to Idaho.
Yes.
And they're going to Idaho because Idaho seems sane.
I have been party to these conversations of people saying, I want to live in a more sane part of the world.
Yeah, they can't take
I guess I should give a shout out now to my in-laws who moved from California to Idaho. You can probably fill in the rest of the details. Yeah.
I know a guy in my neighborhood, not on my street, but in my neighborhood. Okay, they come from Idaho to kind of have their senior years in Southern California. They're here 7 or 8 years. Then they sell their house because they're sick of California for $500,000 more than they bought it for. They go back to Idaho. I thought, well, they did it just right. They did it exactly the way you should do it.
In our own circle here, Cy, with assistant producer Marie and her extended family, which is pretty much half of East County, San Diego, a bunch of them moving to La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Right. Moving to Wisconsin. We know about Texas. I mean, we're Catholic Answers is losing people to Texas.
Yeah.
You know, we're already losing people to Texas, and more who talk about it.
Let's tie this, if I may, into the abortion issue.
Please do.
I'm really interested in what that does for state-level abortion politics, and if they're sometimes kind of surprising. So, like here in Kansas, we're burdened with a really embarrassing state Supreme Court decision that was 6-1 a few years ago, declaring a state-level right to abortion, finding it in the Kansas Constitution. So we're dealing with the value of them both amendment here that tries to undo that. But as with the Dobbs case at the Supreme Court, it's not going to solve the abortion issue. It's just going to get rid of the barrier to solving the issue. You see what I mean by that? It just says
absolutely,
like,
Joe,
okay,
you're right.
Now you can legislate. Now the democratic process can start.
Right. That's what happened. There was no democratic process for 50 years, and now, or however many years.
I prefer the adjective federal, the federal process, because this is a question of the authority of the state.
Sure.
It's homicide, and that is for the states to decide.
I have to be quite honest. I know that I am a radical in this. I don't even believe it's an issue for the states. I believe with the improvements in technology, the understanding of the life of the child since 1874, the life of the child in the womb, the 14th Amendment applies to the child in the womb. And I know that makes me a complete idiot as far as lawyers are concerned, but I believe there is a right to life. There is in the U.S. Constitution, in the 14th Amendment, and because we know about where we've had changes in our scientific understanding of the development of life since the passing of the 14th Amendment, I don't care about what the judges say about, well, that's not what they meant when they passed it. It doesn't matter. What we know now means you add these two things together, there is a right to life in the womb.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation about just this point with a guy who teaches up at Benedictine last week. And his argument was what the framers, or what the drafters of the amendment meant to do was protect life, liberty, and sort of happiness of people who were alive. And if their knowledge of embryology was, inadequate,
right,
that's not a limitation on the scope of what they're trying to do with the law. Likewise, I mean, they didn't seem to treat African Americans with full humanity. But what the scope of what the law said and what it said it was doing logically applies. And so just as you expanded in the one area, you should expand it in the other and say, okay, look.
I'm the odd man out here. The 14th Amendment increased the power of the central government.
Oh, it did, without question. Without question. Yeah. But I don't believe
it is the law of the land.
It is the law of the land, and on moral grounds, I have to say there's motivated reasoning on my part.
If it can be used in this regard, I'm at peace with that at this point in my political trajectory.
Right.
But it is a question reserved to the states. The states don't really even exist anymore.
Well, they're going to exist more now. You're right.
I think so.
Because of this jurisprudence. So. It will matter what a state is more than it did before. But I have to tell you, everyone assumes that I watch on TV, oh, this is going to really hurt Republicans because now they're going to have to put their money where their mouth is. Well, first of all, there's a lot more pro-life people than you think, especially if pro-life is defined as, well, not in the second trimester, not in the third trimester. But secondly, you have these people grandstanding in California saying things like, because we're a very pro-abortion state. And so the legislators are saying, we're going to be an abortion sanctuary. And we're going to spend state money.
Two words that don't go together.
To fly women from Texas to have their abortion here. Well, try to sell that to the voters of California, because you can say that now because you're not that. But the California voters are not going to vote for people who spend state money to abort other people's babies. They're going to say, well, maybe we get, no lead in the water for African-American communities. Like, there's going to be ads that are going to run against these people. So they're going to have to fight this out in the real world. And I don't think abortion wins in the real world.
Yeah, they've used the scare tactic of, coat hanger abortions, back alley abortions for 50 years. And I think when people realize that's not what actually is going to happen,
right?
That I think you're actually going to see, now maybe I'm being overly optimistic, I think you're going to see a shift in people's perceptions, because I think a lot of people who would describe themselves as personally pro-life are nevertheless worried about unintended consequences of any kind of pro-life regime. And I think when they see it in person, depending on how, of course the media will try to spin it and craft a certain narrative, but I think when they actually see that it's not as dystopian as they were led to believe, you might see some hearts and minds getting changed with that. The law is pedagogical. That's the other thing. A lot more people thought slavery was either good or at least a necessary evil until the law changed around slavery. And then they thought, oh, okay, turns out we can live without this and should have been living without this the whole time.
And I feel like, we don't have a decision yet overturning Roe v. Wade.
True.
and but I feel like the expectation on every side is that we're going to. So if we don't, I don't know what's going to happen. I remember the Casey decision and just the sense of shock that Justice Kennedy did what he did. And the sense of utter betrayal that came with that. Utterly stupid decision. But what if that happens again?
I don't see the numbers for it. I mean, I can think of one justice who would, a chief justice perhaps, who would perhaps
try to find a middle way.
Take the Kennedy spot. Yeah. And he tried to, but neither party, neither side of the debate was willing to grant any middle ground on this, which was really a fascinating thing. And very cleverly, I think, the state of Mississippi said basically, look, if you're uneasy about being in the center of this, butt out. Like, just leave it up to the legislative process. You don't have to decide everything. Now, they stopped short of Chris's position, and, a position that I think is totally, Sy's position, that, like, maybe the court should just outlaw abortion nationwide.
That's not going to happen.
They just said basically, like, right, but it'd be nice to see the Overton window move. It'd be nice to get one concurrence that said, I concur in Roe v. Wade being overturned. I actually think we can go further. That changes the conversation in a really interesting way that could be good. But I'd be happy just with the court saying Roe was a mistake, mea culpa, and undoing it.
What if they just uphold the Mississippi law and don't overturn Roe? They just say, yeah, you can have a 15-week law. Because Justice Roberts seemed to be saying, well, that's plenty of time for a woman to make up her mind. So why not just choose that as a line, 15? And then the next state will do 14.
Isn't this the most likely scenario?
I don't think so. I think the most likely scenario is overturning Roe.
I think part of the reason it's not the most likely scenario is that Casey didn't work. Like, Casey was basically trying to do this. It scrapped the trimester framework of Roe and described itself as just preserving the essential holding of Roe. Rehnquist in the dissent described it as like a movie house where you just have the front of the house and everything else has been destroyed. Yeah. Like a Western set. That, like, the Roe decision was preserved in name, but all of the internal reasoning was rejected by Casey. Well, that didn't work. That didn't solve it. And so then the line got redrew. It didn't work. So we could keep doing that for another half century. Or we could just say, stop. Like,
just be intellectually honest and say that there's no right to abortion in the Constitution.
I'm not arguing which decision
is better.
Is the most intellectually coherent.
Sure.
Which is the one they're most likely to pursue? These are human persons involved here.
Well, I think even if Justice Roberts goes with not overturning Roe and says, in what would probably be a lone dissent, joined by no one, says we should just allow the 15-week. But even if he did that, you still have 5 votes to overturn Roe, it looks like. Right. So I have to be honest, I have my hopes up, and it's going to devastate me if it's anything less than that. I want to be that wise person who says, well, don't count your chickens before they hatch. But I've got chickens all over the place.
Unborn chickens are still chickens. That's the point of this.
That's the whole point. Thank you, Joe. Unborn chickens are still chickens. Hey, whenever we do this, when I get the opportunity to have these panel conversations with you, which we are going to continue next hour, I always have some audio for you from National Public Radio, and I don't this time. The audio that we are going to play is not from National Public Radio because someone defeated National Public Radio in saying goofy things about sex or religion, which usually you think the goofiest things being said on the national stage about sex or religion are going to be on National Public Radio, that they're going to defeat anyone else, but they didn't this time. So next hour, I've got some not National Public Radio audio, but some other audio for you in the moral realm having to do with religious people and sex, and you're just going to love it. But we're also going to do Pro-Life Person of the Year, Catholic Person of the Year, and Catholic Story of the Year when we come back in the second hour. You both will come back, right?
I have a special announcement in the second hour.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
What? Look at him teasing that.
That's how you do it, Si.
I'm speechless now, and that's the one thing you're not supposed to be is speechless. Great job teasing second hour, because we didn't. I'm very much looking forward to what your announcement is.
Oh, everyone listening is going to want to hear this.
Everyone, don't go anywhere. We have audio that's better than National Public Radio, and we have a big announcement from the president of Catholic Answers. Joe, anything?
Well, no, I just feel like your other announcement was like, hey, guys, you're not in the frying pan. But guess what? You might be in the fire.
All right. All that coming up right after this on Catholic Answers Live. Welcome back. Last hour of Catholic Answers Live for the year 2021. We made it. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be the best hour of Catholic Answers Live for the year 2021. We are in position.
At least the best one remaining.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
See,
for that
you
good
get somebody with
clarification.
philosophical training on the show.
But we're about to close out the year, so I need to ask you both to bring your A game. Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers, here with us. Thank you.
I brought my A game last night.
Oh, that's right, because you guys, Joe, and we have to hear about baseball now.
Softball side,
sorry.
the Cristeros, which is the Catholic Answers co-ed softball team.
Yeah.
We were in the finals last night. So in the semifinals last week, we were the number 4 seed. We beat the number 1 seed, an undefeated team. We beat them 15-14. This was last week.
You're aware that we broadcast around the world with this radio program.
It's important for people
This was
to
a
know.
local softball league in El Cajon.
Yes, it is. This is important for people.
I just want to make sure we know the parameters of what we're.
And this isn't even my important announcement. But so last night I did. I actually left part of my left leg on the field last night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, sliding into second base. I was safe. Yeah, but
Congratulations
But
on
we
being safe.
we did. Well, John Versillo, who runs our video department, looked at me. He said, "What are you doing? How old are you?"
Oh, because you slid?
Yes.
No, you're never too old to slide. Come on.
He said, "How old are you?" And then, of course, I had a little bit of blood on my leg when I got home, and Jacqueline said the same thing. She said, "How old are you?"
No, that's a.
In any case, we lost 11-5, but we put up a huge fight, so we got the silver medal.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to Todd Aglioloro, a.k.a. Skip, who runs our...
He's your skipper?
He runs the press here at Catholic Answers, and he is the manager of the Cristeros, the Catholic Answers softball team.
Joe, you want to say anything about that?
I'm just taking it all in. I'm just absorbing in case anyone asks me.
Here's the other thing, Si.
Yeah.
Today is the last day
Yes.
to make a gift to Catholic Answers and have it apply for your 2021 taxes.
I'm so glad you mentioned this because Christine said to me, this is actually the biggest day of giving in the year. I didn't know that.
It is the biggest giving day of the year.
Last day of the year.
December 31st. And we've made it easy. GiveCatholic.com.
Oh, yeah. So you're thinking, all right, I got this end of year money to give, which I've never thought that at the end of a year, Joe. I don't know how your life is going.
You might be like, I'm trying to avoid some taxes.
I've literally never come to the end of the year and been like, well, I've got some money to. But if you do, GiveCatholic.com. That's so easy.
Right.
All right.
It's a way to re-gift all the money you got for Christmas that you didn't want.
GiveCatholic.com.
That has not happened either, Joe.
Help Catholic Answers finish the year strong. We are in healthy financial condition. We want to finish the year strong. We want to continue to do this great program and all the other good works of Catholic Answers, including all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Every time Joe Heschmeyer and Carlo and Trent and Jimmy and Tim get these one-on-one emails. You know,
I know,
the hidden ministry of Catholic Answers that continues to this day.
Right. Like you think like a superstar like Joe Heschmeyer, right? He's writing books. He's doing talks. If we get a question that we can't handle on the air and we send it to Joe, he just calls the person up and works
Or just people who are uncomfortable calling on the show or have something a little more involved they need to go into. So
It's actually one of my favorite parts of the job. It's like people will just email in often these more specific, maybe more detailed personal questions that aren't going to make good radio if someone's explaining a 5-minute backstory, but they make for a powerful email.
You had a fellow on yesterday, Si, with Carlo talking about scrupulosity, and I think, by the way, Carlo told him exactly what he needed was to help find a good spiritual director.
Right.
But that kind of stuff, we get those scrupulosity questions a lot here,
right.
And we individually help people one-on-one. So from the one-on-one all the way up to the 30 million or whatever that visit Catholic.com. And however many who listen to this program and the books and the great work of the video department and all the behind the scenes people like Heavy Metal Thomas, who manages our social media and the ladies in customer service, please give Catholic.com.
GiveCatholic.com.
Can I plug the style of ministry just for a second? I call it the Nicodemus approach. And what I mean is if you read John 3.
It's in the dark. It's at night.
Yeah, it's all behind the scenes. Yeah, no, Nicodemus comes to Jesus at night because he saw the works that he was performing. What are the works he was performing? Things like in John 2 with the cleansing of the temple. So Jesus does all this really big, kind of showy, kind of flashy, we would call it broad outreach, but it's actually in the service of one-on-one kind of stuff that you think the cleansing of the temple is a big thing, but actually the cleansing of the temple is a way of getting the attention of people like Nicodemus so they can have those transformative one-on-one conversations. A lot of what we're doing here, maybe just to prick the conscience and ask a question
to start
to like a few individuals. Yeah. And I've had amazing things come out of this just interpersonally of people who maybe weren't Catholic but tuned in. And it really is it's an exciting way to understand the relationship of the two things. It isn't like, oh, the emails are a nice thing to do on the side. It's like, what if that's what the show is for? Like, what if there's someone out there who like this show, this whole hour is for that person?
Not
it
what
changes
if.
How we
Not
do
what
it.
if. We know that's exactly happening.
Yeah, it does. It's amazing the things people say about, I don't know, like Jimmy will say something that I've heard Jimmy say 40 times probably, but he says it in a way that reaches a person. And then you get this email that says, I was in my car and I heard Jimmy say this and all the lights went on. And, that's the work of the Holy Spirit. That's, how is it you always say? You always say, we're what?
Yeah, we're the conduit.
We're the conduit. We're not
He's the agent.
Yeah, he's doing the work. We're just,
Amen.
So.
Although I was going to say, sometimes that could also be the sign that your door is ajar when you're in the car and all the lights come on.
That's probably a joke.
Give Catholic.com.
Oh, can we reconsider the hiring process here? Did anyone think to interview
now
Joe before
Now
hiring?
I know we need to ask a question about the 14th Amendment.
All right, the word or phrase. All right, moving on.
It used to be just red or white wine,
Yeah.
but now it's 14th Amendment, yes or no?
The word or phrase of the year was synodality, the biggest news story of the year, COVID, the pro-life story of the year, all these court cases. We've still got pro-life person of the year, Catholic story of the year, and Catholic person of the year to come, plus some astounding audio. So good that it displaced our usual National Public Radio analysis, and we're going to do some analysis of this audio. It's our end of the year show. It's always fun. We get to talk. We just get to talk. We just get to have a fun, nice conversation about what our listeners decided in all these different categories, 11 different categories. Some of them we went over yesterday with Todd and Tim, and today we're doing the final ones with Joe and Chris. And now we come to pro-life person of the year, which was not this was one of those ones where the pro-life story of the year was so obvious that I didn't even count them. I just looked at the sheet and I was like, all right, it's either the Dobbs case, it's either Mississippi or Texas, but pro-life person of the year was a lot harder to add up. Do either of you have a pro-life person of the year?
It's Trent Horn.
Oh, that's pretty good. I was going to say President Biden just to troll Cy. But...
Why you got to mess with me, man?
Governor Abbott.
Oh, yeah, Governor Abbott, yeah.
I'm just guessing here. I think Trent's doing a lot of great work for the unborn.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, Trent is doing a lot of great. Somebody picked Andrea Bocelli. Is there some?
Yeah, Andrea Bocelli. His parents wanted to abort him, or were told to abort him because he was blind, if memory serves, right?
Oh, I didn't know
so
that.
I guess his mom had the very brave decision not to, and he shared very publicly about this and how, I guess her faith really gave her the power to stand up to bad advice from a doctor, and it shows. It's one of those things where it really shows the value and dignity of a human life.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's beautiful. I figured there must be something there that I hadn't heard of. But I'm just going to tell you some people who were put on here, because there's lots of folks who, they didn't get all the votes, but they got, they got mentioned here or there. Our friend Patrick Madrid got at least one vote. Archbishop Naumann, who was kind enough to call the show this year. Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Barrett, and Justice Thomas all got votes for pro-life person of the year. Justice Thomas asked the best question, I thought, at the Roe versus Wade one, where he said, "What right are you defending? Like, what right are you defending?" He said that to the solicitor of the
literally the first question.
Yeah.
Literally the first question.
What right are you defending? And well, if you say abortion, then the Thomas's answer is, well, that right is not in the Constitution. But they don't say it, but they go, well, the right to privacy, and okay, where's that in the Constitution? And so I thought that was. Anyways, I just wanted to applaud.
Well, it also, it's a really savvy legal question, because the people who believe there's a right to abortion don't agree what that right is. So the kind of pro-choice legal position is incoherent internally. And so you have people who don't want to say there's a privacy right that says you have an unchecked right to bodily autonomy, because for one thing, it's going to lead to things like unintended consequences in the vaccine debate or in 1,000 other areas. So smart legal theorists are actually a little uneasy about just saying there's an unenumerated right to privacy or to bodily autonomy or to abortion. It's really hard to press down where that right is, and the rationale shifts a lot. So I like the question, and you'll notice the counselor not able to answer it.
No.
It was a total dodge.
Let me give you some single names, other people that got mentioned, but weren't the winners. A lot of them, people who have appeared on this show, some who have not appeared on this show, but they're just great people, and we love them. Stephanie Gray Connors, our friend, Bishop Paprocki, the wonderful Bishop Paprocki.
Amen.
Paprocki. Obianuju Ekeocha, also a wonderful pro-life voice and force as well. Father Frank Pavone, a few votes for Kristen Hawkins of Students for Life. And then these two, I think it's just great that these two ended up right next to each other. Two people voted within minutes of each other. One picked Jesse Romero, another Gloria Purvis. You can't find two more different people, both wonderfully pro-life people. That makes me so happy that we have that.
I would watch that show. If we can get a panel with them.
Oh, yeah, get a panel.
I'd watch that.
But you know what? Have them talk about human life, and they're both going to be superstars. They're both going to be just superstars. And that makes me so proud and happy to be Catholic. All right. So, but those are all kind of honorable mentions. Now we'll get to the top four. I'm going to do the top four because 3 and 4 were very close. Number 4 was Archbishop Cordileone of San Francisco.
Yeah, good.
Did I do the break yet? No, I didn't do the break yet. Okay, so I'll do the. I'll use. This has been a good moment to. We're doing radio here, Joe. I have to ask questions sometimes. I forget whether I did the break or not. You can remember everything.
Are we on the air? We've been live.
Abby Johnson was number 3. You all know Abby Johnson? She made the movie. I don't know what she did this year, but I guess she's just still doing it. She's just bringing it for the pro-life cause. All right, I'm going to save the top 2 till after the break. Right back with more of the end of the year programming here on Catholic Answers, where we find out how the Catholic Answers listeners voted on all kinds of categories. Right now, we're in the midst of Pro-Life Person of the Year. We'll do number 1 and 2 right after this.
This is Bishop Chad Zielinski from the Diocese of Fairbanks of Northern Alaska, and you are listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Homeschool Connections, an online provider of courses for your Catholic homeschool, is a sponsor of Catholic Answers Live. Homeschool Connections website is homeschoolconnections.com.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
This is Conversations with Consequences, where we delve deeper into issues affecting our church, our country, and our core, the family.
As Catholics, we need to be informed, aware, and able to talk through some of the tough topics that we're facing in our culture and in our world. Conversations with Consequences gives us the tools to do so.
It's not enough to pray. We have to be a light for the world.
Conversations with Consequences, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Number 4 was Archbishop Cordileone in Pro-Life Person of the Year, according to Catholic Answers voters. Number 3 was Abby Johnson. And we went right so fast past Archbishop Cordileone. I just wanted to say a day of fasting and prayer for Nancy Pelosi, in which he sent her roses. And none of that, and I know the world does not understand this, none of that was trolling. I believe every bit of it was sincere. I was miserable that day because I fasted, and I'm the worst faster on earth. That's all I got to say about fasting. But I think thousands, maybe millions, I don't know how many people listened to the Archbishop and prayed for Nancy Pelosi, because Nancy Pelosi is our sister in the faith, saved by Jesus Christ. We want her to. We're not trying to be at war with her. We just want her to come to the fullness of truth about this issue, about not killing little tiny babies.
Yeah, she's someone who actually goes to church, and I don't think it's just for political show. I think there's some serious areas of malformation, but I think she's someone who, that strange dynamism of grace, man. You never know.
God will work.
God can do amazing things.
Right.
He is doing it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
but she's very much worth praying for and loving. Like that's a good challenge for all of us to
Absolutely.
To do.
By the way, last year the pro-life person of the year by about 1 million votes was Donald Trump. Like that was one of the, but this year it really was not clear. It was a lot of different people kind of fumbling around for the pro-life person of the year. And I think it was Donald Trump because Amy Coney Barrett had just gotten on the Supreme Court and everyone was very hopeful about Roe v. Wade, all the pro-life people we were. And so I think Donald Trump and then number 2, which is weird, way down there was Amy Coney Barrett. Like everyone, Trump, like the actual justice was way down there, but because we didn't know yet how she would rule. But all right, so somewhat controversial on number 2, Lila Rose. Do either of you know why I say somewhat controversial?
I do. I've actually written a piece.
God bless her for the good work she does.
But well, go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say that there's a big question. She rose to prominence in terms of live action with these videos in which people were kind of encouraged to perform abortions undercover when she was posing as underage. And there were a lot of things going on there. The big debate people were having was whether it was okay to lie in defense of a good cause. And I think pretty clearly the answer to that is no, but you find a lot of Catholic philosophers and theologians, including ones I really respect.
Janet Smith.
Peter Graves.
Janet Smith.
Yeah.
Came out
saying yes.
As a consequentialist, it was very strange.
Yeah.
It was, and well, the other half of that, which people weren't talking about, is that there's also the sin of scandal. That when you're encouraging someone to commit a sin, even if it's a sin they do for a living, even if it's a sin they do multiple times a day, you're still causing an extra wound to their soul that wasn't there before.
Yes.
And so like real spiritual damage was being done to a concrete individual on video to make a broader consequentialist point. I think that this was... I think she's a good person who means well. She's a friend of friends. She's a friend of my wife's. But on this issue, I don't see eye to eye with her.
All right,
Joe has expressed it very well, and similarly, the gentleman whom I've met and who was in a similar way negotiating about the fetal parts under false pretenses.
James O'Keefe?
No, David Daleiden.
David Daleiden.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It brings up the exact same moral problems.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose there's always a temptation that in an extreme situation, which the abortion regime in the United States is an extreme situation, comparable to North Korea in more than it's comparable to France, the way we do abortion here in the U.S., it tempts people to go too far. And
as our friend Nietzsche would say, don't stare at the void too long or it'll stare back at you.
Yes. And then he went insane.
Like, I think he was just showing us what it was like.
Yeah.
But there is that real like the people on the front line of the pro-life movement, they're dealing with one of the worst evils in human history, and it's very easy in the face of that to accept all kinds of little compromises, or just to become hardened in some way, or
we got to be so careful about that.
Instrumentalize the unborn. Like there's all sorts of these things, and so I the critique is coming from a place of having a tremendous amount of respect for what they're doing and what they're trying to do, but also realizing like because of that, it's actually more important that we say, but be really careful over here because that's a dangerous road to go down.
That is that's really well said.
Well, like
Joe.
It's like the person who's the pro-life person, and some have argued that you could scientifically within some short period of time perfect because pigs are very hospitable to humans. Pig biology is very hospitable to human biology. You could take all the babies who have are frozen, and you could gestate them within pigs, and then they would be allowed. But no, you cannot do that. Like as much as them being frozen is, as Pope John Paul said, absurd. You can't do evil things to them in order to cure that. And gestating a human being in a pig is evil. You can't. So it's hard to keep our equilibrium when we see such horrors around us, but we must.
Amen. And very well said. And it poses some, especially when you get into IVF and abortion issues, the moral issues involved there are often so messy and so murky, where you can see all of the things not to do, but especially in terms of IVF, the things to do become a lot harder. So I think, a lot of prayers for a lot of people are important there.
They used to call slavery the peculiar institution because it made people weird. You had to become strange, and I think abortion is that now for us. It bends us and
the
perverts
abortion
us.
distortion.
Yeah, the abortion, right. Number one, pro-life person of the year. I am going to say I find this one controversial as well, and I will say I'll make my negative comments, but I think you two are going to celebrate this person, frankly, despite all the flaws. Trent Horn, pro-life person of the year.
Are you kidding me?
No, not kidding you.
I guessed it. Wait a minute, I guessed it.
Trent Horn,
Do I
pro-life
get
person.
some kind of prize for guessing it?
You get Trent Horn. You can have him.
To wash my car or what?
Yeah, I think it's great, actually. Trent,
I really agree with that. He is brilliant in his defense of life, and the clarity of his arguments, his manner, the humor that he brings to his apologetic work. I totally agree with that.
I think he's mean to me, but other than that,
That's one of my favorite things.
You're asking for it. You.
We victim blame in this building.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think Trent is phenomenal, and I want to use the opportunity to maybe. I think he has affiliations with Justice for All before he came to Catholic Answers, right?
I don't know.
Or at
remember
least
what
some
it
of
was.
it. He seems to have some cross-pollination with
that
them.
was it.
But I was going to say that's a pro-life group that does really good work of training people on college campuses. Then when we're talking about like Catholic media celebrities and like Twitter stars doing pro-life stuff, I don't mean Trent here. I mean some of the other people on the list. They're hot button lightning rod kind of people. But a lot of times the people on the ground are doing this kind of quiet work of actually changing college students' minds.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting when you actually say, oh, yeah. So what I like about Trent, to bring it back to him, is that he takes some of those same arguments and kind of shouts them from the rooftops. Things that before I'd maybe heard like in a one-on-one conversation are now being broadcast to the world. And that's exciting, and that is actually transformative.
I think it's very gratifying that when Trent goes to speak on a college campus, that this undergraduates have to have access after his talk to a safe space.
Yeah, well, of course you do.
And puppy therapy.
Yeah. You know what should be a safe space? The womb. Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon.
Yeah,
My bad. That was unfair to say. Okay.
Go Trent.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something about Trent. I've told this story before. But because I think I know why Trent is effective, and I think the reason is Jesus. And this is what happens. Trent and I...
It's not Marvel Comics.
It's not, even though he loves Marvel Comics, with probably an inordinate kind of love.
Oh, yeah,
like, I
he's
think he needs to go to confession.
He's totally lost his mind, yes.
But Trent and I, for years, have done this show where, Why Are You Pro-Choice? Which is, it's brutal. It can be 2 hours of brutal conversations where people talk about, yes, infanticide is fine, or, they say crazy things like the Nazis, if you'd see it from their point of view, then, like that kind of stuff. Like you're dealing with really horrific arguments and things for 2 hours.
We've had call screeners reduced to tears.
I've been reduced to tears, but I've been not able to go on. So one day, I just got the idea, I'm going to go visit Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament before, just spend a few minutes with Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. So I opened the chapel door on his knees in front of the Blessed Sacrament. At the very front of the chapel is Trent Horn. Yeah. And I thought, well, there's the key to that man's success. And he has so many. I mean, it's a beautiful testament to the fact that, God can work with any personality type. God can work with do you know what I'm saying? Like
from the sublime.
There's so many flaws in the man, but
I think this is the episode where we find out if Trent listens to this show.
Yeah, right. I'll either be getting a call from Trent later or not.
No, someone will ping him some way or another.
Right. So great choice, everybody. I'm so glad Trent Horn is pro-life person of the year. And unseating the incumbent Donald Trump. He's the second person.
Trent Horn for president.
I think he'd be a good president. Except for all that economic stuff.
As long as I can be, he is a total libertarian, whatever.
He's a loon when it comes to that. Just listen to Pope Leo.
Yeah,
let's start there, Trent. No. I mean, why do we have to start with Milton Friedman?
Oh, yes.
All right, we're gonna do.
I love it when you and I can agree, Si.
We agree on a remarkable.
We're all three agreed on that one. Rerum Novarum, good. Yep. Milton Friedman, not as good.
Well, call Trent, will you? Yeah, as a fellow apologist. There's something to this Catholic social teaching. But Trent also wrote a beautiful, beautiful book called "Things the Saints Never Said," or something like that. Is that what it's called?
4 copies sold.
We sold 4 copies. But those 4 people are
really edified.
Well, they got it. All right, let's just say they got it in the mail. All right, it came.
I tried to find a free version online once. I'm not going to lie to you.
You tried to find a free version of
You work for Catholic Answers. We could get you a free copy.
It's like, but you were embarrassed to ask for it from our own.
By the time I got it, it would have been too late, so I had to,
Joe, we'll give you the books for free. Holy smokes!
I think we get you a free signed copy of that one.
All right. Coming up, we've got one of the great audio clips of the year. It's not the greatest audio clip of the year. I think we've already done that one earlier, but it defeated everything else, at least for this episode of our panel show. Best Catholic Story of the Year, Catholic Person of the Year coming up, and more conversation with our guests. President of Catholic Answers, Chris Check, and lowly apologist at Catholic Answers, Joe Heschmeyer. Right back after this.
Have you enrolled in the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics? Let me ask you a more important question. Do you believe as a Catholic that you have an obligation to share the Catholic faith? In fact, the Church has answered this question, and the answer is that all confirmed Catholics are obliged to share the faith. It's actually in canon law. Catholic Answers is here to help you fulfill that obligation. Our School of Apologetics courses will equip you to help all the people you come in contact with understand what the Church teaches and why. A great place to start is with all the Catholics in your life. Learn the art of apologetics from the best of the best and start sharing the gospel today. Visit schoolofapologetics.com. That's schoolofapologetics.com.
Did you know you can access Catholic Answers Live right from your phone or other mobile device? Download the Catholic Answers Live app today. It's free, and you'll have instant access to our daily broadcast, the schedule of upcoming shows, and you'll even be able to search the archive and listen to thousands of past shows. The Catholic Answers Live app, available now on iOS and Android.
Most of us Catholic parents agree our number one goal in life is to pass on the faith to our children. But here's the bad news. Today's world has a million ways to steal your kid's soul. Don't be afraid, says Father Sebastian Walsh. God loves your children even more than you do, and He desires their salvation more than anything. In his groundbreaking new book, Always a Catholic, Father Walsh shows you how to cooperate with God to bring about the fulfillment of His will for your kids. Always a Catholic reminds us that keeping our kids in the faith is about the way we live our Catholicism in our own lives and as a family from day to day. Order your copy of Always a Catholic by visiting shop.catholic.com today or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
This is Debbie Georgiani.
And I'm Jerry Usher.
Join us for Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, Monday at noon Eastern.
Now back to Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. We're doing our fun end-of-year program that we get to do each year. Chris, you've done this for years now. I think, Joe, this is your first year doing it with us. I think Father Hugh might have done it with us sometimes, and others. But Todd's done it with us. Well, Todd was on yesterday. We had Todd on yesterday, so he always does some of the end-of-year program.
He's an insightful guy.
Yes,
Todd.
You're just saying that so he'll put you in the baseball game.
My skills are sufficient for that. My skills.
Congratulations on that.
And it's softball.
Catholic Story of the Year, Catholic Person of the Year. These are the two categories, and then we'll wrap up with some audio if we have time. Let's see, Catholic Story of the Year. Let's do that, and we'll end with Catholic Person of the Year. That'll be the big announcement. It's like, oh no, that's not like the Academy Awards. Actually, they do Best Picture last. Well, anyways, I'm doing this way. I don't need to be validated by secular culture. Okay. Either of you want to guess at the Catholic Story of the Year?
It's
having to do with the church. So it's
a confusing one, and it's the motu proprio, Traditionis.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good guess. I don't know when people voted.
Because
that was kind of a 1-2. I don't know when people cast their votes.
Oh yeah,
it was kind of a 1-2
did they vote
punch.
yesterday? Did they vote last week? Because then it may be the response.
The voting ended the week before Christmas.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone had voted by the time the Pope did his second round of Traditionis Custodes. So
the booster.
Right. It wasn't. The Traditionis Custodes,
the Roche booster.
Yeah, that was it hadn't come out yet.
Is that original with you, Joe?
I know. I came up with it in 5 seconds.
Oh my
ago.
gosh, that's going to get a lot of play. Yeah, and you probably won't get the credit.
That's all right. I'm really okay with that.
The booster.
The Catholic story of the year. I'm sorry that I just didn't add up number 3 properly, so I'm trying to make sure I get number 3 correct.
You're doing math right now?
No, I'm just making sure. I wrote numbers down, and I'm trying
on
to
paper, not even like with a spreadsheet.
No,
just like
it's paper. Yeah,
like
the paper was a good enough technology for the Bible. All right, it's good enough for me.
Interestingly, the book was largely invented by early Christians. I don't know if you know that. The move from
scrolls
to books. Yeah, right.
Wall Street Journal, I don't know, years ago, maybe 5 years ago, had a great article on it. How Christians pioneered it. And so when you get Augustine doing the whole Tulla Lege thing, take and read, that kind of is impossible to scroll in the same way. We're just flipping open and finding the thing. It doesn't work if you have to unroll a whole scroll and it's just one book.
Two people voted for this as Catholic story of the year. So this is not in the top 4. I'm going to give you the top 4, but I just want you to know that 2 people voted for Catholic Answers hires Joe Heschmeyer.
What?
Yeah, 2 people voted for that. So now
hopefully they mean it in a good way. Not just like biggest scandal of the
year. Yeah, those are smart people.
I'd like to publicly thank my mom and dad.
Or their name's Heschmeyer.
The number 3. Wait, now what am I doing? 4 or 3? Give me a second, guys. I'm really having trouble. The number 4 story of the year. Archbishop Cordileone urges prayers for and fasting for Nancy Pelosi.
Good.
That was the number 4
good story.
Catholic story of the year.
It's a good story.
All right. That's all you guys got?
We already talked about it. So
okay. Okay. You're here to comment on these, but whatever. You do whatever works for you. The number 3 story of the year, the Bible in a year downloads.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I did that wrong. That's the number 2 story of the year. Yeah. Number 2 story of the year, Bible in a year downloads.
Speaking of our particular roles, I think yours might involve being able to read those in the right order. But maybe this is like the Academy Awards where
I'm getting really tired.
The story will be Cy calls out the wrong thing. And
yeah. If anyone anywhere writes even a single story about this program, it will shock me. I mean, shock me to my core. So I feel like I'm safe.
Oh, that guy who writes for the
National Catholic
Reporter said you bully people or something. Or he didn't name you by name.
No, he said Catholic Answers. But I thought he was unfair to us.
It was completely.
Did you see that?
Ridiculously.
Michael Sean Winters?
Yes. He said
it was fascinating because I'm not sure he's ever seen a minute of the show.
Or looked at the website or talked to anybody who works here or
because it's funny because I actually agree with the critiques if they were true. You know what I mean? Like,
I thought
if they applied to Catholic Answers.
Right. He didn't.
Right.
What he wrote
the imaginary
was,
group
or to Archbishop Gomez
sounds terrible, and I also don't like that group.
Yeah.
I've never met any of the people he's describing.
Yeah.
But I don't like him already.
I met him. I've met him, Joe.
I'm
gonna be honest with you. I've met the people that he's criticizing.
Yeah,
but
they don't work here.
I don't think that's Catholic Answers.
No,
I don't think we're like
those
bossy
people
conservatives.
have really hateful things to say about us too, just in a different direction.
Yeah.
Right, like, whatever. Let's not focus on the negative. One guy wrote a negative story about us this year, and his address is, should I give out the address? What's that called?
It's in Kansas City.
It is in Kansas City.
I'm sure he's a lovely guy.
Reception was next door to it.
I wish he would just talk to us about it. Like, it just seemed unfair. He mentioned Catholic Answers, which, can I say another thing? What's the deal with
your show?
If you write a story where you're going to criticize Catholic Answers, which is fine, there's lots to criticize about us. I just didn't think this criticism was a solid one. Why do you put Catholic Answers in quotes? Like, that's the name of our apostolate is Catholic Answers.
It's called sarcasm. He's being sarcastic.
Oh, it's like Catholic Answers.
Exactly.
Like that? That's what he...
Which undermines his argument, his weak argument all the more, an incoherent argument all the more. but he was being sarcastic. We are actually.
It's like putting Pope Francis in quotes. Pope. Quote Francis.
Yeah, but we are incorporated as Catholic Answers.
Like that's actually the name of.
It's the proper name.
But he's saying that the answers we give are not really Catholic.
No, he didn't put answers in quotes. He put Catholic answers.
No, he put the way I remember it. But maybe I remembered it wrong. I don't know. All right.
Well, I'm going to put Michael Sean Winters in quotes.
Well, or National Catholic Reporter. I mean, we don't do that.
Yeah, of the two of our organizations, one of us has had two ordinaries ask us to stop using the name Catholic, and it's not Catholic Answers.
That's right.
Don't push it, Joe, because there's ordinaries who would, so don't push it, Joe. If he's saying that we're not charitable enough, then he is right. We are not charitable enough. We've got to work on that.
Joe is.
But that's
Joe is.
But that's. I mean,
not to sigh.
No, you're downright mean to me. You're not in the Trent Horn category, but you are a mean person.
Oh, we did get a complaint that Joe was mean to you.
Oh, I know.
Right.
From my number one fan.
I asked how you had your job, which I still think was a good joke.
Yeah. I thought it was a good joke too, but I also am really glad we got a complaint email about you. I'm super happy to see it. The number one story.
So we did. Well, you know what? We didn't actually spend a minute on Bible in a Year, and I want to give a shout out to.
Sorry about that.
Podcast.
It's wonderful.
It is.
I listen to it every day, and it's to the point that my 2-year-old daughter calls it Daddy's Show. It's funny because I actually am on shows. She doesn't call any of those my shows, but she calls Father Mike Schmidt's podcast
Daddy's Show. Yeah.
And it's to the point that she knows the end, the God bless he does at the very end. She impersonates him. And it's wonderful. He does this fantastic job of reading scripture to you in a very easy to receive, kind of easy to digest way. And then he cracks it open. And he cracks it open in a way that is at once accessible and insightful. I'll give you an example from back in probably January. He's talking about the binding of Isaac back in the book of Genesis. And he talks about how there's a Jewish commentary that suggests that Isaac could have been 33 years old, which means that, like, the way people imagine the sacrifice of Isaac, he's like a little kid. And that's not actually present in the story. The next thing we see is the death of Isaac's mother, which happens when he's like 35, 37, something like that. So Isaac carrying the wood of the cross, it may be much older than we expect. And if he is 33, there's an obvious Christological kind of prefigurement. It's a beautiful insight. And one that, like, whether this is your first time reading Genesis or whether you're a lifelong devoted reader of scripture, there's something in almost every episode for everyone. And I'm regularly like, oh, yeah, that's a good reminder, or that's really convicting, or that changes I read this passage. And as someone who does stuff on the other side of the mic there, that is really hard to do. And they have such a consistently good product. Like, major shout out both to Father Mike Schmitz and to Ascension Press for really phenomenal work. And I'd encourage it to everyone.
Yeah.
Good time to start.
I'm
tomorrow.
so glad you did that, because we get distracted because we enjoy conversation with one another. But I'm really glad you paused to make sure we attended to that, because so millions and millions of people have benefited from what the work of Ascension Press and Father Mike Schmitz. And it gives you a sense that, to me, it gives you a sense that the gospel of Jesus Christ is enough. You don't have to present. You don't have to fix politics. You don't have to fix the world economy. What we need to do is present the gospel of Jesus Christ, which begins with in the beginning in the book of Genesis, and it ends with the book of Revelation, and it's all a revelation of God, especially in the coming of our Lord. But that's when we have that to present. Why do so many of us think, well, what we really need to do is present a good critique of, modernism at the Vatican or something, which is not a terrible thing to do. Or the 14th Amendment, right. But you know what? Presenting the Word of God in a wholesome and helpful way, good on you.
Amen.
Nice job, Father Mike Schmitz.
It's so much harder to do than it sounds, because people always want to talk about politics. They always want to make every theological discussion about politics. And on some issues, especially abortion is an obvious one, it's kind of unavoidable that there's going to be a political element to that. But yeah, not getting lost in the worldly, secular, daily stuff, and being able to preserve the stuff that actually matters, the stuff that endures. Oh man, it's a good reminder for all of us.
If you can help people become closer to God, you're having a good year. And Mike Schmitz had a great year, great year. Good for him. Was that that was the number one story. So now we just have left.
Wait, was that the number one story?
I thought you said that was number 2.
No, I messed up the order.
You need to count up again?
No, I messed up the order before. It was Corleone was number 3.
These are in like Star Wars order.
Oh, you're right. That was number 2. Number 1 right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Hello, this is Archbishop Alexander Sample of the Archdiocese of Portland in Oregon. Keep that dial right here on Catholic Answers Live.
St. John Paul II stated that, for the disciple of Christ, evangelization is a duty, an obligation of love, and the Catechism of the Catholic Church states that evangelization is necessary for salvation.
So we know we're called, but how do we do it?
St. Paul Street Evangelization can help. To learn more, contact us at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
EWTN uses the power of radio to reach people whenever and wherever they're searching for answers to questions about their Catholic faith. EWTN radio is heard on over 500 domestic and international AM and FM radio affiliates. For a complete list of programs and how to hear EWTN radio, visit EWTN.com and click radio. EWTN, the Global Catholic Network.
All right, I know this seems easy, but it's harder than it looks to get 3 numbers in a row. Number 3, Catholic Story of the Year, Archbishop Corleone praying for and asking people to fast for Nancy Pelosi. Number 2, Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz. Number 1, Roe versus Wade getting overturned. So people saw that as a Catholic story. And we've already discussed that one. That's why I was thinking that Mike Schmitz was number 1. But those are good.
Yeah,
I think that is kind of a Catholic story
not
too.
Not specifically Catholic, but also hadn't happened yet.
Okay, what, the Roe versus Wade one?
It hasn't been overturned yet.
I just amalgamated it all up into the pro-life successes of the year. That was kind of what people were talking about. But they said
so the further restrictions on the traditional liturgy
didn't come up.
Amazing.
No, it was hardly mentioned, as a matter of fact. Some people did mention it. But it was not widely mentioned. Milo Yiannopoulos leaving the gay lifestyle and returning to the Catholic Church was mentioned. Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World was mentioned. Young priests becoming more Orthodox was mentioned. But the Pope, that didn't crack the... I don't know. People just didn't pick that as the number 1 story of the year. Does that surprise you? I'm glad about Milo. I think I knew about that. I don't really know much about him, but I remember that he was one of those people that would go to college campuses and then there would be like riots would break out because I think it's because college campuses, are places for dignified interactions.
In fairness, I'm not sure either side of that was bringing dignified interactions.
I don't know. But I'm glad. But if anybody comes to the Catholic faith, God bless them. So,
no, absolutely. I don't mean to knock him. I think his style before as a kind of bombastic, trollish presence was sort of annoying. But I think as he's receded from public view, it seems like it's been really spiritually beneficial for him. And so hopefully that's the case.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I don't know if you remember this. There was a reporter from the New York Post who had an article where he said chink in the armor, and he meant it in the way that normal expression is used.
Oh, but he said it about a Chinese basketball player.
Yes. And he seemed totally oblivious to it, but he caused this huge firestorm, and he either lost or quit his job.
Jeremy Lin.
He became a Catholic priest. So it actually had a very positive story where getting out of that ended up being this tremendously good spiritual renewal for him.
I think
going through that kind of
receding from public view is almost always spiritually beneficial.
Yeah. But when I hear a story like that, it makes me wonder, which I wonder every day when I get up, what's going to be the thing that gets me fired? I know I'm going to say something someday.
I wonder the same thing too.
On the air. What's the thing that I'm going to say? What's the stupid comment I'm going to make that's like, no, you went too far on that one? You know, it's okay to say horrible things about Trent Horn, your coworker, but no, now you.
One time I used the phrase "off the reservation" without thinking, and I got an email about it.
Well, you should get an email about that.
I'm part Cherokee.
Goodness. You
but
should.
No, I understand. It was. I took the criticism as like, oh yeah, that probably is not a phrase I want to endorse as a good way of describing mental health.
No, right. But we're all going to get fired. Anybody with a microphone in front of them is going to get fired someday. And you just got to get up every morning and try not to make it that day.
I've got your backside. Give it a whirl.
Let's see what open up and try. All right. I would like to now read my pornographic manifesto. Chris, thank you for your support. All right. We're at Catholic Person of the Year.
All the ways that could have gone.
Did I do it? Did I just get fired? All right. It was just a joke. All right. Here's the Catholic Person of the Year. There's a tie for third. So I'm going to call both of these people fourth.
That's mean, but okay.
Should I call them both third? Is that how you do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, well, till you hear them. Maybe you'll think that you want them to be fifth. Archbishop Vigano and Bishop Joseph Strickland. They tied for third for Person of the Year.
I imagine there was probably a lot of overlap for people who would have voted for one of them voted for the other.
Bishop Strickland, a dear friend of Catholic Answers.
Yeah,
I don't think they're that comparable.
Well, no, I don't think they are, but I think a lot of the people who like the one like the other. I don't mean to suggest they are themselves similar. I think I hold them in different esteem. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And I think Bishop Strickland gave a fantastic presentation at Catholic Answers Conference. And one of the things he said that was really convicting was the difference between a person and a personage or a personality, and kind of playing on the root persona. That there's a difference between the kind of like image of a person you have in your mind, a Catholic, social media person, politician, whatever. But then there's like a real life human being, son or daughter of God behind that Jesus died for. And that was a really good reminder in its often kind of fractured world. And I was talking to someone else who was at the conference who I think had struggled with Bishop Strickland, who was convicted in a really beautiful way about that. And it was like, oh, wow, like it humanized him in this incredible way. I thought he was fantastic, and then getting to talk with him one-on-one was a real beautiful moment for me.
I found him to be a humble man.
He talked with anybody who wanted to talk with him. He just stood around for hours. Anybody who wanted to talk.
Humble. Courageous to be sure, and outspoken as we would want an ordinary to be.
I believe I met Archbishop Vigano years and years ago. I'm pretty sure it was him, and he was very nice. That's my entire interaction with him.
Yeah, I've never met him.
Yeah.
He helped get my bishop in Kansas City, and for that I'm very grateful.
All right, number 2, Person of the Year. We're proud of him. We love him. He's one of us. I'm talking about San Diegans. It's Archbishop Cordileone of the Archdiocese of San Francisco.
He is a San Diego priest.
Yeah, he's one of ours. Yeah. Did you know that, Joe?
I didn't, but isn't Bishop McElroy from San Francisco?
Yeah, they switched. That's exactly right. Yeah, it's a funny little thing. They switched. Yeah. Okay, so number 1, Person of the Year. Can you guys guess who it is? After all we've discussed today, number 1 Catholic Person of the Year.
Father Mike Schmitz.
He did it, Father Mike Schmitz,
nice.
Catholic Person of the Year. Excellent choice, Earth. Thank you, people of the Earth, for choosing Mike Schmitz as the Catholic Person of the Year. He showed us all, by example, just the way to be an evangelist and I don't know, a good holy priest. Don't mess it up, Mike Schmitz.
Can I give him an extra shout out?
Yeah.
I guess 2 things. One, he showed us that people really are interested in the gospel. We sometimes think, oh, well, no one wants to hear that. It's too controversial. Or if people, you've got to be either a blowhard or water down the gospel. And he's neither. He's not intentionally like provocative.
Not at all.
For the sake of being provocative. But he also doesn't shy away from speaking hard truths.
Yeah.
That is, as anyone who's ever tried it can attest, not an easy thing to do.
I personally... Oh, go ahead. Second thing. Yes, please. No. Well, mine was stupid.
Okay, well, fair enough.
I was just going to say, he like Catholic Answers and dozens of others, he's not ceding the internet to the kooks.
No.
He says we're going to be present on these platforms and as many of them as we can, and they're problematic, but it doesn't mean we're going to cede the space.
No. Yeah. Right. And there are so many good people in Catholic media that we've all met. I mean, the Ascension Press people are wonderful. Congratulations to them on all their success. They've done brilliant work on many occasions. Matt Pinto, the founder,
for
used
years.
to be here at Catholic Answers. I mean, if you
was
think about
forged in the Catholic Answers crucible.
Exactly. You think about Mark Brumley and all the folks up at Ignatius Press, Bishop Barron and all his
Brumley
crew. He was also a Catholic Answers. Bishop Barron was never a Catholic Answers person. But then they got the
no fault of his.
Matt Fred, Patrick
all the
Madrid,
EWTN people
also formed a Catholic Answers.
Right, and then you got all these amazing Catholic radio stations and networks like Guadalupe Radio and
Spirit
Catholic Radio and Real Presence, and I mean you can name 100 of them. Oklahoma Catholic Radio, St. Michael's Catholic Radio. I should stop because then you forget.
How come you didn't name me? Yeah, exactly.
But I think people should know, like when all these people see a success like Father Mike Schmitz had this year, just celebration for that. Like people are so happy to see that. Everywhere I go, you talk to Catholic media people, they're just thrilled that someone's breaking through on that level. So congratulations to Father Mike Schmitz. We have the audio. It's not the audio of the year, but usually I play audio from National Catholic Radio and have you two respond to it.
National Public Radio.
Oh, National Public Radio. I beg your pardon, NPR. But we're almost out of time, so I'm gonna ask Darren to play the audio, and I'm not gonna tell you who it's from. See if you can guess who it's from, and if you have any response to this beautiful kind of unpacking of the Christian sexual morals in the United States. Go ahead.
And now I am fearful about Roe v.
You know, if you watch America, which I like to watch America, and I watch television a lot, it's a very interesting schism that goes on here. Because on the one hand, sex sells everywhere. I mean, you can't see an aspirin commercial without somebody having sex. You cannot turn on any program, especially on streaming, where people are having there's soft porn everywhere now.
Right.
They encourage all of that. It sells everything.
I don't think Chris knows who this
sells.
is.
And yet when it comes to the reality of pregnancy, this particular group of people on the right in this country and these religious zealots do not understand the reality of what happens when you have sex. It's almost like they don't want to see that part. They just want to see the fun in the bed, not the second part.
What? I'm sorry, but all right, in case you don't know.
She got it backwards. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
There were two clues at the beginning that she is, I can't say off the reservation. No. What am I supposed to say here?
Confused.
Confused, right, yeah. The first is, she said schism, and it's pronounced schism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the real clue was when she said, I watch a lot of television.
That's going to hurt you.
That's
if you do
the
that.
problem. You've got Joy. Turn off the TV. Turn off the TV.
Read a book. Yeah, that was Joy Behar from The View, by the way, and it made no sense what she said. I mean,
well, I think actually, in a lot of ways, if I'm
she was doing great for a while.
Well, no, if I understand what she's saying, it's you have to be okay with abortion because it's how we allow sexual libertinism to happen.
That's exactly what she said. She said we want to gratify our glands in any way that we can. So because this thing is an unfortunate consequence of that, we need to be able to kill it. Yeah, that's what she said.
And so we were being naive for not realizing
that sex makes babies when that's what we talk about all the time.
I know that this is the incredible thing is like you will find people on the pro-choice side who literally are like, what does sex have to do with babies? What do babies have to do with sex? Because with IVF and abortion, you've separated the two not you personally, we've separated the two so profoundly.
Yeah.
Although, as Trent has pointed out so beautifully, if a baby were not the consequence or the product of sex.
If it didn't take sex to make a baby, no one would be pro-abortion.
Everyone would be opposed to abortion.
Right, yeah. I think that's right. If you got a baby some other way, an egg or something, we all swam upstream and whatever, then Joy Behar, that was crazy what you just said.
Yeah.
We love you.
She laid out the ugliness of that view of like, we need to allow this as the peculiar institution to defend the lifestyle we want.
Yeah, but
it's a poverty, as Mother Teresa likes to say, that a child should die that you can live as you want. Like there's something ugly about that.
Let's end the year with Mother Teresa like that. That was great. That was Good job. So we're ending the year 2021. It's behind us. It's in the rearview mirror. Thanks for joining us for as many shows as you joined us for, and particularly for this one. Joe Heschmeyer, thanks. We're so happy that 2021 brought you to us.
Likewise, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks, guys.
I'm so grateful, Cy, for all the people who support Catholic Answers.
I am too. Go to givecatholic.com if you want to give on this last day of the year. Givecatholic.com. And thank you all for spending this year and this time with us. We'll see you in the new year, God willing, on Catholic Answers Live.